A referendum beckons, and Ireland's trade unions are anything but united. Some say yes, some say no, and others are simply fudging the issue. But it all begs a very big question. Can Ireland's trade union movement secure the passing of this treaty? Or could they potentially even scupper it?
Falling government approval ratings, a political storm over proposed new taxes. And now, 3 of the state's largest unions tell their members to reject the fiscal treaty. When it rains for this government, it really does pour.
The government hasn't helped itself in recent weeks. I mean, the household charge was more or less dealt with by the end of March, but they then made an absolute mess of the water charges issue at a really bad time. The government will be keenly aware that referendums have been lost in the past because, essentially, of very poor government campaigns.
The Stability Treaty is an international agreement between 25 European countries, including Ireland and all the other countries that use the euro.
For the government, it's the Stability Treaty. But to its critics, like the trade unions, Unite, Mandate and the TWU, it's the Austerity Pact. And for the Labour Party, with its close connections to the trade union movement, this poses a problem. Significantly, Taoiseach Eamon Gilmore now says that union members should ignore their leadership and vote yes.
Well, it is an unusual step. It's a panic step in my opinion. I think this government realises now it's on the back foot. They were taken for granted, like they took for granted the first Lisbon Treaty. They're taking this for granted, that they've frightened people into this. People have had enough. People are tired of the people who have little in this country are expected to pay a lot, while the people who have a lot are expected to pay nothing. That cannot be allowed to continue.
There's always been disagreement inside the trade union movement about Ireland's involvement in the European Union. That goes back nearly 50 years, so it's not surprising. And some of those who have taken the recent position of opposing the Stability Treaty have opposed all previous European treaties, so there's no element of novelty about that.
Dig deeper and you get a real sense of the division within the trade union movement around this referendum. And it's along the old private versus public sector divide. Many of the unions recommending a no vote have a large private sector membership. It remains to be seen now which way the public sector unions will go.
Undoubtedly, some public sector union leaders will come out and are likely to be pro the treaty, or pro the agreement, based on the fact that they perceive there to be a link between Croke Park and the acceptance of the deal.
Yeah, the public sector unions well understand that their pay comes out of the public purse, and for the public purse to be full, sufficiently full, we've got to be able to borrow on the international markets. We can't at the moment, that's why we're using the Troika, but if we were to reject this treaty, we would be thrown on the mercy of the markets, and the markets would not loan us anything, and therefore pay packets would shrink immediately.
Confusion and contradiction. ICTU believes the treaty puts a gun to our head. But if we vote no, the unions say that we will be locked out of the funding markets. Now, the executive of the Irish Congress of Trade Union meet tomorrow, but don't expect any decision.
This is a diversion, there's no doubt about it, and I think the best decision that can be made tomorrow is that the unions collectively don't try to make a decision, because the last thing we can do it is disunity in the trade union movement. So does it really matter? If union members ask their own unions how they should vote, it's up to the individual unions to deal with that.
For the government, losing the support of 3 unions with a combined 145,000 members is a blow. But in a political climate where union influence is on the wane, just how significant a blow is it?
But we don't really know in reality how a direction from unions will travel at ground level. But I think put together with the kind of anger and the public perception that the government is mishandling a lot of the charge issues, it could be a potent mix.
This treaty is complicated, complex and heavily contested. The yes side is currently leading in the polls, but 6 weeks to the big day, it remains unclear if the tide will turn.